Hey YouTube fans, it is your best friend, Mental Junk. I haven't been on YouTube in well over a year, so what brought me out of retirement? Rational getting drunk. Now, this may create a wormhole of response videos to response videos to response videos, and I hope so, because that's just entertaining for me. I will not be imbibing on this video, frankly, because I'm doing something with my intake, it being the first part of the year, and I don't want to derail that, but I don't necessarily need alcohol to liberate my opinions, so I think it'll still be entertaining. Anyway, I have recently watched parts 1, parts 2, and parts 3 of Rational Roundtable's response to Thunderf00t's video regarding appearance. And again, like most response videos, my guys do it ever increasingly inebriated when something stupid happens, but and they're doing these responses as the video's going for their first viewing. And I've already seen all 3, but again, I've got to do it because there was too much coming out of me when I was watching it to begin with. So let's start the show.
The Young Turks is real news, and you know, NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, all that crap is just a bunch of lying corporate shills or something. I don't know. But the Young Turks, not really news.
Paul Brown is a United States congressman from Georgia. This is at the Liberty Baptist Church Sportsman's Banquet last month. Here's his brilliant thoughts on evolution.
I've come to understand that all that stuff I was taught about evolution and embryology and Big Bang Theory, all that is lies straight from the pit of hell.
This guy is on the Committee on Science and Technology.
And I have a lot of respect for this woman. This is Anna Kasparian, and yeah, she's kind of pretty.
Okay. What does the fact that she's physically attractive to you have to do with anything? I mean, personally, you may think she's the hottest thing on the planet. I think, all right, she's not ugly or anything. But the reason I drank that was because I know where this is going.
Okay, Rational. So your first comment concerning Anna is, what in the world does her attractiveness have to do with anything? And frankly, it has everything to do with everything. Now, look at her job. She would not have that job if she looked like a troll. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. Now, taking a little bunny trail aside, I personally think Thunderf00t's just got a hard-on for this chick. And for some reason, he decided to create a video and an opinion around it. And yeah, it may be a little bit misogynistic, but I do believe that there are a lot of points of truth in regard to what he's saying. Now, he may not be your opinion, but similar to how you weren't very keen on his perception and what he thought of certain people, doesn't mean that your position is any less valid, or his is any less valid, because honestly, I think both of you gentlemen have a percentage of the population with regard to both of your views. Now, on this particular instance, when he's talking about that Anna is relatively pretty, yeah, she's on television, on news. Now, there is a double standard. If you see somebody like a Tom Brokaw, who is an older anchor, somehow, somewhere in your psyche, it makes you think this guy is credible because he is older. Now, so if you see an older male anchor, such as a Tom Brokaw, you automatically think, hey, this guy's got some credence, because somewhere, somehow in our intellectual psyche, we're thinking, yeah, that makes sense to me because of the way he looks. Similar to a female, if she looks, you know, decrepit and old, we don't have that same, ooh, we have an aged person who has seen a lot, therefore should know a lot, I should listen to what they have to say. No, this is not Japan. If anything, we're like, wow, I am so sorry they let you out of the nursing home. Is there anything I can get for you, Granny? With regard to public female images, the prettier the better. She would not have that position if she was ugly. She just wouldn't. Now, this is not taking into any account her personality or how she can conduct herself, but I guarantee you when they are searching for candidates for that position, they start with looks, and the rest of the stuff gets them the position, but if without that first checkbox, it's not going to happen.
Where this is going.
Smart, erudite, whatever, yeah, sure. But long before you've noticed any of that, you've noticed she's kind of pretty.
Okay, I'll grant you that when you first see someone, the first thing you may notice about them is what they physically look like. But that doesn't mean that, for example, in the case of this young woman, that the first thing I notice about her is that she's pretty. You know, I know you seem to think she's all that, but you know, to me, honestly, when I looked at her, the first thing I noticed was her hairstyle. That it seemed like she needed some work.
Now, this is where the wormhole kind of starts messing with me a little bit, because if I'm doing a response video to a response video, am I responding to Rational's response, or am I responding to the initial video? And I guess since I'm making all the rules, I can do both, because that's just what I do. But when Thunderf00t says that before you notice anything else, you do notice that she's kind of pretty, I would probably grant you there, because we do make snap judgments in those first couple of seconds when we see somebody. Now, continuing to see that person and to interact with them, those snap perceptions may or may not change. They may be enhanced or they may be downgraded, and that's why a lot of women fall in love with guys that are probably not the best looking in the world, is because after a while they become more attractive to us based on the personality. Conversely, if you have a crappy personality but you're very attractive, after a while you're going to start to lose your shine a little bit. But the reason I wanted to stop here is to say homegirl's got a lot of help too. So while she may be kind of pretty, again, another double standard applies to, while they both have what I would consider stage makeup, she got a whole lot more going on with regard to shading and proper application. Conversely, her co-star ain't got no eyeshadow on. So even though she may be kind of pretty, she's enhancing whatever natural bone structure, symmetry that she has in her face to bring that attractiveness even higher. Again, for us and how we have, I don't know, construed what females in the public eye should look like. You should be as pretty as possible. Got to work with what God gives you, and at least in Anna's case, she's, you know, she's got a lot. But then I'm reminded of, if you see celebrities without makeup, especially Jennifer Lopez, I think she's gorgeous, but without makeup, I'm like, ooh, that nose is way bigger than I thought it was. You got a really good shader.
Okay, I'll grant you that when you first see someone, the first thing you may notice about them is what they physically look like. But that doesn't.
Now, being pretty has advantages and disadvantages. You see, just by being there, pretty girls like Anna instantly get attention before she said a word in a way that other people just don't.
Okay, so here I'm responding to Thunderfoot again. Now, the clip that he shows, Anna is in a discussion with two male anchors, and something that you may not realize off the bat is she is dressed all in red, whereas her two male anchors are dressed in much darker clothes. So his point is she gets more attention than she would if she was a male anchor. And again, if you look at studies regarding human behavior and what our eye is drawn to, well, of course we're drawn to things that are beautiful. We're also drawn to brighter colors. So there's a person for every single show out there whose job it is to make their anchors look credible or look interesting. And trust me, every single stitch on that woman's body is calculated, just as it is with her coworkers. There's studies upon studies and focus groups, and there's millions upon billions of dollars funneled into how do I keep people watching my show, and part of that is, well, content, but also the method with which it's delivered. So similar to a very roughly edited piece of film, well, it could be great cinematography, but if it's edited bad, you're really not going to get anywhere with it. So if you have a greatly produced show and fantastic content, but you haven't taken the time to hone the same, hone your co-stars and your main people with the same methodical methodology that you would with the content and the editing and the lighting and everything else, then you've done your show an injustice. Because yes, people will make those snap judgments, and then they'll continue to either add to them or not based on the content. But similar to how I mentioned, Homegirl wouldn't have even gotten her foot in the door if she hadn't been pretty. You're not going to have a show that's going to have what he's going to reference later as 1 billion views without interesting people to watch, for starters, and then the content to follow that up.
I don't know I'm going to survive this. Okay, no. Maybe that's how you think of things, and that's what I think you're doing here, is you're basically projecting the way that you see people onto everybody else. In all honesty, particularly if I'm watching a news program, the person's physical attributes mean absolutely nothing to me.
Okay, Rational, you say that when you're watching a news program, the physical attributes mean nothing to you. Congratulations, you're an elevated ape. But guess what? Some people, you may or may not say the majority, again, in some subconscious level, the physical appearance will either increase or decrease other people's view of their perceived ability to even deliver said news or their entertainment value. So with regard to the male anchors, yeah, they're probably going to be more on the stylized more for a credible side, whereas your female anchors, yeah, they are there for the attractiveness factor, a little bit of the entertainment factor, while also adding to the content. So I'm not so naive as to say that the females, all that they do is be there as a pretty picture. No, I'm not saying that at all. But they do contribute to that.
Just because somebody may be more or less physically attractive than somebody else in the same room, in the context of something like this, a discussion, it's irrelevant. I don't care. I've had discussions with people on YouTube who I think are absolutely hideous looking, and I've had discussions with other people on YouTube that I think are absolutely beautiful. And that makes no difference. A person doesn't get any more or less attention. I will not watch or not watch a video or pay more attention or less attention to a video, or pay more attention or less attention to one correspondent on a news channel based on their physical appearance.
Again, you may not care what somebody looks like, but all I have to do to prove my point with regard to even this community, subscribers. You look at a pretty chick or one that shows a little bit extra, and then suddenly she has subscribers through the roof. Now, I'll give you, Jenna Marbles, she's hilarious. She's also very attractive, and she will show off the goods every once in a while. And you know what? I don't think she has to work. I think she just makes YouTube videos. Conversely, and this is really going to tick you off, I haven't done a video in a year, and I've gotten subscribers for no apparent reason. Just out of the blue, I'll get a notice, such and such has subscribed to your channel, and I'm like, excellent. Whereas my husband has to fight for every single subscriber that he gets, and he has to weigh, well, I've got an opinion. If I say it, I'm going to lose some subscribers. And now, granted, I don't have as much as he does because I don't really care. But the fact remains, I'm a chick. And this may also prove my point, depending on how many subscribers I get based on this new video and because I showed the goods a little bit. How many do you think I would get? And how long do you think it would take for my subscriber count to be over your subscriber if I continue to do videos and show off my goods in a female attractive manner? You want to test that theory?
That's just on you, Thunderfoot, and maybe some of your followers, and I'm sure there are people out there that are like that. But I am not that superficial.
You may not be that superficial, Rational, but again, you wouldn't be spending, you know, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on research to figure out, is this person going to be accepted by the audience that I am trying to market this show to? And it's not going to be a troll. So again, I'm basing this on not only what I see from pretty much all the news anchors. You know, men can be of a certain age or older. I mean, you mentioned, I love me some Jon Stewart now as a person and as his show. His show is highly successful. But yeah, I agree that it's not quote-unquote real news. But Homeboy's got some salt and pepper hair. You're not going to see a female anchor with that much gray in her hair. Again, unless it's some local affiliate and they just don't really care. But if you look at your national anchors, or even with Miss Anna there, see gray hair or white hair on her head? No. And you're not going to either. So again, just because that's your opinion. What I find ironic is you're dogging Thunderfoot for saying, well, this is your opinion, and you're putting your opinion views over the masses. Now, granted, he probably should have said in my opinion, and maybe said in my opinion more, but I would consider you being guilty of the same thing in saying, well, I'm not that superficial, therefore everybody but Thunderfoot and his Thunderfootites are superficial and nobody else. So really, maybe this is Scotch talking, but you're doing the exact same thing.
However, a large part of what goes on here on YouTube is communication. And here that instant attention that Anna gets, a lot of which is associated with this spontaneous judging that goes on in people's brains, both for men and women.
A lot of times you hear women, arguing that there are these unrealistic body expectations because men expect us to look a certain way. No, it's not men, it's women. It's other women tearing women apart, and that's the real problem here.
That's funny you say that, because I was going to say, here's what I can guarantee you. The person who wrote that blog is not a heterosexual male. Okay, I don't know who it is, but it ain't a straight guy, because anybody who looks at those Kate Upton pictures thinks, yum.
Okay, not going to take a drink on this one because it's not Thunderfoot himself, but rather the host of the Young Turks that I wanted to comment on. Is that I assume that, you know, when he's talking about, ooh, yum, Kate Upton, he's talking about pictures like this. And, you know, he is simply projecting his personal tastes in women on all men.
Okay. So when you start a sentence with, I assume, nothing rational is, and probably good for you is going to follow. Let's just put that out there. So when you say, I assume, when he talks about Kate Upton being yum, I assume he's talking about images like this. And then you show up a Kate Upton pic that should better be shown in like a Victoria's Secret model. So yeah, she is as minimally clad as possible. Really? So he couldn't be looking at her face and thinking that she's yum, or looking at her in a fully clothed reference and maybe noting the shape of her figure as a silhouette as yum. No, you went straight to the picture that you showed. As clearly, if he is a man, he has to only go to these highly carnal pictures to be attracted to. Is it me? Is it? Am I losing my mind here? Is that not pretty much what you're dogging Thunderfoot for? That he's blanketing assumptions over these people about how their perception is of women, and again, you just put a blanket perception on the one of the anchors of the Young Turks that clearly he was only looking at pictures like that when he was thinking of Kate Upton. No, he could have been, but again, you just assumed that, and you know, I don't think that goes with your video. Just saying.
I'm sorry, and I'm being 100% honest here. When I see that picture, that yum is not at all what comes to mind. Actually, more kind of the opposite is, ew, she'd probably look better with some more clothes on. And I don't mean that I think that the female body is disgusting or anything, but what she looks like does not conform to what I personally find attractive. Number one, no butt. Number two, not enough breasts. Number three, I don't particularly, the pose isn't very good. Also, I think her cheeks look absolutely ridiculous. I think her chin is too big. There is very little about this, Kate Upton, that when I look at this picture, I find all that attractive. And that's just my taste. That's not to say that I think Kate Upton is hideous or ugly or anything like that. I don't. But is she the kind of person that I would go yum about? Heck no. There are a lot of women out there that I find way more attractive than this, including, by the way, my wife. And that's something that I say without reservation, and I mean 100%.
Okay. Just because that's not your personal preference doesn't mean that Kate Upton has less, I don't know, attractiveness, or by the same extension, you know, the whole point that we're talking about this is if you are more attractive, things come easier to you, or you have more power, or you know, whatever Thunderfoot's original point was that, you know, both of y'all just kind of did this too. Again, that is your personal preference, and yeah, you like a different archetype of woman. However, if I put the actress that played Precious and Kate Upton side by side, and I would say, which one of these bodies is more attractive to you, you would probably go back to Kate Upton. Not because that is your preferred body type, but given the choice between the two, again, if we're going back to intrinsic triggers, there's and there have been studies regarding, from a humanistic standpoint, why do we find what we find attractive, and there are norms. There is such a thing as the golden ratio, and scientists believe, now again, whether you're a creationist or evolutionist, I really don't care, but what I'm saying is there's been studies where you rank a person's face based on attractiveness, and regardless of a person's preference, they ranked these faces almost identical. And one of the things that they noticed was the symmetrical nature of faces, and the more symmetrical a face was, the more attractive it was deemed by both sexes. Similarly speaking, the healthier a frame is, not only just for our social archetype, but again, I think there are overarching norms. Intrinsically, we would pick the healthier appearing body type as more attractive. And scientists theorize that this is based on, just the primal urge to want to propagate our species, and we want to be with a mate that has the best chance, and is healthier. So if you've got Precious actress and you've got Kate Upton, you would say, well, between these two, Kate Upton is more attractive, even though Precious is an African-American woman who has way more breasts and way more rear. Now, disclaimer, I did assume that, and you could totally tag me for what I just said to you about assuming with regard to Homeboy and his need to say yum to the scantily clad Kate Upton picture. And fine, if you want to do that and say, no, I think Precious would be totally more attractive. Okay, fine. You are the weirdest male on the planet if that is the case, or you're just trying to hold on to your point without possibly thinking, she might have a point there. Regardless, my point still stands that as humans, we are gravitating toward what appears healthier, or an image that lacks disease and would be better to propagate the species with. That's why symmetrical faces are more attractive. That's why a body that is not too lean and not too fat is more attractive. In your case, maybe for Kate Upton, you think a leaner body is less healthy, and so yeah, you like more stuff to hold on to. There ain't nothing wrong with that. I got an hourglass figure. It's got a couple extra minutes, but it's there. So that's pretty much my take on the whole. Do pretty people have more power? And the answer is yes. Yes, they do. And this is not a new opinion for me. Actually, the first video that I ever posted was called "The Problem with Pretty," and it was dealing with how my daughter is a really cute kid. Like, she really is. She's a really cute kid. I don't know how that happened. And how I still don't find myself as very attractive, though there are some people on this planet that would differ with that statement. But I've always tried to use my my charming wit and intellect to win people over, mostly men, because they're easier. Women, on the other hand, I think you've got some ulterior motives, and they're tricky bitches. So they're a little bit more work, and most of the time I'm just like, whatever. I'll just go to your manager. He's probably male anyway. So he's probably attractive, and if he's attractive male, he's probably CEO of the company. If he's an attractive male that is really tall, he probably owns the Eastern Seaboard. So yeah, I would agree with Thunderfoot that attractive people do have more quote-unquote power. But maybe it should be amended. Maybe it should be attractive people have more preliminary power. Because, again, the cover of the book makes you want to pick it up. The content will decide whether or not you read it to the end. So, it's my opinion. Talk to you later.